Hi, it's Bishop Mark. Today we finish chapter 20 and we begin chapter 21 of Luke. So we go from Luke 20:45 to Luke 21:4. Why the chapter ended in the middle of this, I don't know, because the beginning of chapter 21 seems to fit with the ending of chapter 20 pretty well. Both of them talk about widows. So, Jesus is in the temple, he's talked about, and with all these people, he's answered all their questions. They have left, or they're in the background perhaps. And he's talking to the people and the disciples. And let's listen in. Okay. Then within the hearing of all the people, he said to his disciples, "Be on guard against the scribes, who like to go around in long robes, love greetings in marketplaces, seats of honor in synagogues, and places of honor at banquets." In the past, we've heard him say, beware of the Pharisees. Now he's saying, beware of the scribes. And he is in the temple, talking to the people, and looking out at the temple area, which is a large area. He's looking out at the temple area, and I'm certain they could see scribes as he's talking about them. And they indeed like to display their wealth and their money and their power through their things, through their robes and their authority in the temple. And Jesus isn't buying it. He knows that the kingdom of God is not about robes and position. So he says, beware of that. Look at them over there. Beware. Don't be like them. It continues. They devour the houses of widows and as a pretext recite lengthy prayers. They will receive a very severe condemnation. Why do they devour the house of widows? Simply because the widows, as we've seen, are the most vulnerable in society. The widow, remember the widow of Nain, where he went marching through the night to get to the widow of Nain? Well, he's a defender of widows. They are poor, and he hates to see them being taken advantage of by these scribes who demand money from these people that can barely support themselves. So they're devouring their resources. So he continues. When he looked up, he saw some wealthy people putting their offerings into the treasury. And he noticed a poor widow putting in 2 small coins. Jesus always notices the poor and the oppressed. If you were with him in that temple, perhaps not trained so much by him, but just there with him, and you looked out and see the people putting their money into the various things to put the money in. I'm told, or I read, that there's different boxes depending on different needs of the temple. So you could pay for the offering, you could pay for the cleaning, you could pay for the sacrifice. All these different ways you could support the temple and the priests and the place of the temple. And he sees rich people putting in their sacrifice, which is great, needed, so good for them. But you know what he notices? This tiny offering by a widow. I bet you that the other people hadn't noticed until Jesus pointed her out. She was just in the background, just doing her little thing, giving a small coin. Here's the end of it. He said, "I tell you truly, this poor widow poured in more than all the rest. For the others have all made offerings from their surplus, but she from her poverty has offered her whole livelihood." So she put in 2 small coins. She put in pennies, or a penny. She put in a very small thing, but it was from her respect for the temple, her respect for God, her duty to be a good Jewish person, That's what she was giving from. All good things, all the good reasons to give. Right? Because you have an obligation to give to the church as a Catholic, as a Christian, as someone who is affiliated with a church. Because the church has to run on things of this world. But why you give is not to show off. Why you give is because you love the church, you love God, and you want to keep the worship going. That's why she was giving, just from her sense of duty, not for show. And even though her amount was very small, to Jesus it was worth more than the bigger offerings of the people, because she gave what she needed, and they just gave from their surplus. So, Jesus points out the widow to them and to you and me today.